There's a funny pattern that shows up whenever something genuinely new starts getting built out. First, people ignore it. Then, when they notice money or influence beginning to move around, they resent it. Then, if the thing survives long enough, the same people who mocked it start pretending they always understood it. They always supported it. We saw this with Bitcoin. In the early days, the loudest anti-Bitcoin people were not thoughtful critics of monetary design. Some were, sure, but a lot of them were just permanently online resentment machines. The Bitcoin crowd smelled money being made on Reddit and elsewhere. They saw status shifting, new language forming, a new culture, a new class of builders getting attention. So they mocked the whole thing. Mocked it as fake, stupid, fake money, a cult, a scam, etc. And then Bitcoin kept existing. It did not become everything its most aggressive promoters said it would become, at least not overnight. But the people who dismissed the entire thing as impossible were massively wrong. A freely released protocol accrued at its height a couple $1 trillion of market value. A couple $1 trillion parked in a technology that was just a free open source project. A protocol, a new protocol for money, not some subscription service like Salesforce or some gated bank-like service like PayPal. So people who said there was nothing to Bitcoin, obviously they've been humbled. They misunderstood the difference between speculative mania and protocol development. They saw price volatility and internet weirdos. They missed the deeper infrastructure shift. Aside from the NFTs and the big egos in Miami, they missed that $2 trillion shifted onto a free open source protocol. I think we're seeing a similar emotional pattern around AI right now. There's growing resentment of quote-unquote AI as a category. Some of that resentment is understandable. People are tired of hype, they're tired of slop, they're tired of executives replacing careful work with buzzwords, they're tired of low-quality synthetic content flooding every surface. They're tired of being told that every product needs a chatbot bolted onto it. Fair enough. But there's another layer of resentment that's less noble. And these are people who resent this technology while having no knowledge of it aside from the overview and summary on Google search. They think that's what AI is. Why is it so dumb? You really think that's what $10 trillion of value was built on? The AI trade, since the big chip makers and stuff have focused on AI. You think all the value that's been created is just for summaries on Google search? You've never actually used a big service like Claude Fable or ChatGPT 5.5 or a big local system like Qwen or Kimi or even Google Gemma 4. You literally don't know what you're talking about. It would be like saying you don't like sports because you didn't like the movie Free Willy. You didn't like how they treated the killer whale in Free Willy, and therefore you don't like professional sports. And it's like, okay, what does that have to do with professional sports? What does that have to do with anything? Some of these people are pissed off because they can feel that the influence vectors are shifting. They can feel that new tools are changing who gets leverage. They can tell that people who learn to build with AI are moving faster in their lives. Maybe not socially, God knows, but certainly money-wise and career-wise. The people who are using automated technologies and large language models are moving at light speed, while everybody else is just arguing over nonsense, trying to Matt Walsh each other, be the biggest culture warrior, the biggest John Connor wannabe against Skynet, when it turned out not to be Skynet at all. It's just software, just databases running through GPU cards. They don't like that a small team, or even one obsessed person out there, with enough compute and capital and enough taste, can now prototype things that used to require a whole department. People like Eric Schmidt said this day was coming, or one or two people or a band of people could now compete with $1 billion software shop. That day is upon us. So they call it fake, they call it LARPing, they call it a charade. These people say that large language models are nothing more than autocomplete, as it completes 100, the equivalent of 100 pages of perfect research or new mathematics, and they say that's just autocomplete. Well, autocomplete implies that you would have written it yourself. And some of these results, some of these outputs are simply too intelligent for the random hater out there to claim as their own. So it's not a charade. It's something genuinely new. This feels like Bitcoin back in the day when talking about Bitcoin was dangerous and made you seem like a crazy person. But it was correct. And now this is the same correctness except 1,000-fold. And the people yelling against data centers, the people shutting me out of their lives because you work in AI. You're fools. You're bad people and you're fools. And I won't forgive you. I won't be around forever. If you're excluding me from your life, and I know you personally, and the reason why is I work in quote-unquote AI, I work in database development, you're excluding me from your life because of that, then I want nothing to do with you. Infrastructure does not care whether the comment section approves. And what's being built right now under all the noise is real infrastructure. That's the part that I wish more people understood. The interesting frontier in AI is not just bigger model writes better paragraph. That's useful, but it's not the whole story. The real frontier right now is logistics, state, memory, routing, privacy, local compute, agent coordination, trust boundaries and sovereign intelligence, being able to access the best AI without connecting to the internet, without giving all your best info to the cloud. What leaves your machine? What stays local? What gets signed? What gets compressed? These are the new standards, the new questions. This is 21st century infrastructure. Historically, America has been pretty good at infrastructure when it remembers what it is. Railroads, telegraphs, telephone, highways, packet switching, personal computing, the early internet, cloud infrastructure, chips, developer platforms, early AI, and the AI of today, not to mention operating systems like Windows and Mac. All of it came out of America because there was a tolerance for developing new stuff. And I won't be told that I shouldn't work with this and we should just hand all the trillions of dollars to China. I think that's dumb and weird. You could take that Matt Walsh stuff and shove it. That fake traditional conservative stuff that has nothing to do with anything, has no basis in reality. People screaming that we're taking away the water. I mean, have you been through a third grade physics class? You understand it's evaporative, right? That the water that's used doesn't actually disappear. It doesn't go into a black hole. It just evaporates and then reforms. And you know, of course, that all the new data centers don't even use water cooling. And you know, of course, that if the software I'm promoting, the software I'm funding, if it takes off, there won't really be data centers at all. So I'm not sure what that's all about. It's some kind of weird mass psychosis. The people who are the Karens, who said you have to keep 6 feet apart even when you're inside, even when they're inside of your apartment or condo, they would tell you to stay 6 feet away. Those same people have shifted. They've shape-shifted. And now they are the great AI safetyists, screaming about data centers and phantom water hogs and all the rest of it. It's actually really disgusting. It's actually un-American and disgusting. Cleanest industry in history. Not coal, not oil, the cleanest industry in history. Good-looking, attractive, well-paid people sitting on their laptops in labs that look like high-end libraries, sipping on espresso and perfecting code base built by the great mind. It's the cleanest industry in history. So America is at its best when it builds systems that let other people build. That's the lens through which I see the Braid, this thing we've been working on for the past year. Braid Tendril is not trying to be another chatbot. It's not trying to be a wrapper around somebody else's API. It's not trying to, it's not trying to rent seek. It's not trying to win a prompt engineering beauty contest. The question is more basic. What does local AI infrastructure need if we want machines, agents, and people to coordinate without dumping everything into centralized cloud memory for huge corporations to profit off of later? What does it mean for a local machine to become a node? What does it mean for AI state to be compressed, signed, routed, verified, and received? What does it mean to move a compact representation of working context instead of replaying an entire chat transcript over and over again, causing a quadratic increase in compute needs? So that's the direction that InterSignal is headed in. My company focused on these new architectures. And this week we got something real on the board. We took the Braid from source tarball to a native Mac OS install. You double click and it's on your MacBook. We fought through the unglamorous parts, NPM lock file breakage, corrupted package integrity metadata, TypeScript build errors, Tory config mismatches, Rust type errors, all other kinds of problems. And then the app finally launched. It opened a live node. It showed a local node identity. It accepted manual peer entries. It displayed an active roots engine. It sent discovery pings to other nodes. It ran NAT diagnostics. It showed whether direct UDP was likely or whether relay-assisted rendezvous was recommended for its data. It added a text entry latent adapter, so a user can now type a phrase and project it into a deterministic 384D vector-like state object for transport experiments. I mean, this stuff matters. This is craziness. This is Star Trek computer science. And it matters not because it's finished. It definitely is not. And nor is it really transferring hidden LLM cognition between machines yet. It's not quite there. And we shouldn't claim that. It matters because the skeleton is now visible for people to play with and check. Local node, peer discovery, NAT awareness, route state, sign payload direction, vector transport, a great graphic user interface, native artifacts, and a public download path. It's all actually out there now. So that's our current project. Now we have version 0.9 out that people can play with. So the science here is strict. Packets either serialize or they don't. Signatures verify or they do not. Replay sequences pass or fail. NAT traversal across the internet works or it doesn't. A Rust build compiles or it breaks. A DMG opens or macOS rejects it altogether. But the art matters too. A protocol needs a feeling. It needs a reason for being. A mental model, a grammar, a visible surface. So early ICQ and AIM understood this, AOL Instant Messenger. You could feel the network. People were online, some people were away, some people were idle. You could see their away messages or they were available, suddenly pinging back into view, then dropping off. It was simple by today's standards, but it made the network emotionally legible and visible. So the braid needs that, and that's what we built into it. By version 9, I wanted it to feel like a diagnostics panel, but also like a living node roster to show you who else is online. So you should see nodes hopping on, dropping off, going stale, routing directly, falling back to relay, etc. So it should say, for example, Missy's MacBook, online, restrictive NAT, relay recommended, last seen 8 seconds ago. Mountain node, active, direct UDP, test vector received, local workspace adapter, idle, text projection adapter, sending. So this stuff isn't fluff. This is about building your own infrastructure away from the cloud, basically connecting the computers you already own or you already have access to, and doing stuff that just a couple of years ago would have sounded like nonsense. Nonsense, being spun up by some bum on the street. But now this is stuff that not only is it real, we've released the code base. So right now, 384-dimensional vector is the core primitive at intersignal. But we need to formalize what's actually moving. The state object should carry adapter kind, vector encoding, route ID, replay sequence, and other pieces of metadata. The wire format should be compact binary. That's what our systems have come up with, is the visualizer can show some stuff for readability, but the signed object needs to be serialized, needs to be something that can be a true protocol, truly neutral. So this is the stuff we're working on. This is the stuff we're thinking about. And not fully happy with where we're at, but we've made tremendous progress. And I saw some ridiculous story that a lab was, if you can even call them a lab was given something like $100 million to help large language models incorporate oral Ethiopian histories into their training data, as if that's the missing piece. As if that's what these weights are missing, is some oral history from Ethiopia. So $100 million, just like that. And here I'm funding this thing out of my own pocket, and I don't resent it. I don't resent it at all. But it's just weird how people are hyper-focused on these really small pieces of AI and not focused on the pipelines. Like you have oil just bursting out through the ground, but you have no suitable pipelines for transport. And that's what intersignal is, and will hopefully be even more so in the days and years ahead. Thank you, guys.